There is a sound coming from somewhere. I have no idea where it's coming from. Oh, never mind. I see. I was hearing some sound. I wasn't sure if it was like a sound from the basement coming up through the vents or if it was something coming up from outside. Well, I just looked at the cameras. My neighbor was using a leaf blower at this hour for some reason. So the sound was coming from outside. Alright, so let me start off by telling you guys a quick story of something that happened earlier today. Earlier tonight, I should say. Because I am doing this an hour later than I normally would have. You know, despite me being a grass type, I think I'm gonna go with Palisand. I think I'm gonna swap for Palisand. Despite Maractus actually being a good, you know, being good against Poliwrath. Now I'm gonna do it, and you can't stop me. Anyways, so, earlier tonight... actually, let me basically just break down my day to you. So early this morning, I woke up, or rather I should say, this morning I woke up earlier than normal because my mom wanted to go for dim sum before work. And because we all know that my lazy ass shit sister isn't gonna wake up early to go with mom, well, I will go with mom. I woke up an hour earlier to go with mom to have breakfast before work. And you know, I think to myself, wow, must be nice to be that princess right now. She gets to sleep in. And when she gets to work, she also has all this great food waiting for her. You know, I would love to sleep in. And I would love to show up late to work and have food already there waiting for me. You know? When is she ever gonna let me sleep in and, you know, think about me? Consider what food to get me, huh? But anyway, so, because today was rather quiet, I was told to go pick up a couple of items and then just go on home. So I went to the grocery store with the intent to buy duck, like an entire roast duck. While I was at the grocery store, I noticed a bunch of people swarming around the seafood section because a lot of people were buying lobsters. The lobsters were on sale for $9.99 a pound. And well, I didn't want to let this go to waste, so I picked up 3 lobsters. At the supermarket, I picked up 3 lobsters, I picked up an entire duck, and I picked up some chicken wings. I spent over like 70 bucks. I came home. Well, it's still early. This is a good chance for me to watch the shows. I have a lot of shows to watch, a lot of shows to go over here. I was watching shows. I was preparing dinner. I get a call from my sister like, did you get gas? No. Well, you gotta go get gas. I'm taking Sky to go get groomed tomorrow morning. You need to go get gas. I'm like, why can't you go get gas? Brother, I won't have time to get gas. It's like, you can get gas when you drop him off at home, and then you can get gas before you come out to work. So she basically told me to get out of the house and go and get gas for her so that she can use tomorrow. I was at home already. I was watching TV. I was preparing dinner. And then my sister tells me, get out of the house, go get me gas because I need the car tomorrow morning. You might be thinking, the way that my friends were also thinking, why didn't you just tell her to fuck off and go get it herself? I wanted to. I really, really wanted to. But then she'll throw a fit, She'll throw a hissy fit, she'll have a temper tantrum, we'll probably have an argument. So I still did it, also because my mom wanted me to go pick up an onion for dinner, or rather to prepare. I know that sounds stupid, because nobody told me to buy an onion when I went to the grocery store earlier. So what we do after we eat lobsters is we like to save the shells, we like to, you know, boil them to get a little bit of flavored stock, and then we toss in some sauteed onions, make a lobster flavored soup, yada yada yada. So she wanted me to buy an onion to use for the lobster stock after we're done eating. So I had to go out and I had to spend money for gas and then go to the grocery store. Well, that cut a lot of my TV watching time out. And well, I binge watched all the shows before starting this, which is why I started an hour late. Well, not all of them. I had 3 of them I needed to watch. What is that ghost type? Is that a Frostlass? No, that's a Mimikyu. So when I got home, you know, I'm upset. I was already home. I was preparing dinner. I was watching TV. But I had to go out to get her gas instead of her just going to get it herself. So I came home. I was all upset. I was venting to my parents. And my mom told me to watch my tone. Watch what I was saying. I was saying like... I was venting stuff like... I was cooking dinner, you know? Why can't she go get the gas herself? I was already home. She's the one who needs to use the car tomorrow morning. Why can't she go and get the gas herself? Why do I have to go and get it for her? Why can she not go out and get it herself? She was just jokingly saying to me like, aren't you so glad that you have a sister to take care of? I'm just thinking like, take care of? She don't take care of me. She don't take care of me one bit. My mom's just like, no, aren't you glad that you have a sister to take care of? I'm just like, frankly, no. No, I don't. I don't want her here anymore. Given the way she's been acting lately, I don't want her here. I want her to leave. I want her to move out. She is married now. Why is she still here? My mom's like, well, she is moved out. And I said, well, why is she here? If she moved out, why is she still here? Why do we still have to feed her? Why do we still have to take care of her? And my mom was just like, watch what you say. Watch your tone. I'm thinking to myself, watch my tone? I'm not swearing up a storm or anything. I'm venting about how much of a bitch she's acting like. You know, my friends were asking me why I didn't just tell my sister to fuck off and go get the gas herself. And I pretty much told them, you know, in my experience, in this household towards my family, if I say stuff like that, I'm the one who gets in trouble. I get yelled at. I'm the one who gets lectured. I'm the one who gets in trouble. So I've learned when it comes to my family, I just shut the hell up. I don't really talk to them. So I don't really say anything to them because I get in trouble. So what, I just have to sit here and take my sister's shit? I'm telling you folks, I am so tired of her. Like, ever since she got married, she has been absolutely out of control. And what choice do I have but to just take it, right? What choice do I have? I can't say nothing because she just brushes me off like, oh, my little brother, he's being a stupid idiot again, complaining about nothing. I did nothing wrong. He's the one acting crazy. And then when I try to complain about this to my parents, not only do they go like, yeah, we know. We know she's a lot to deal with, but what can we do, right? She's not changing her ways. It's either that or I get told, Please stop. We've heard this before. We know how she is. We don't want to hear anymore. Like, they get angry at me. So at this point, like, what can I really do besides just take all of this? I swear, life just sucks sometimes. Life is just so much of a handful sometimes, you know? I really sometimes really wish I could just opt out. I could just tag out of life. I could just be done, be like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. This ain't worth it. I am out of here. I really wish I could just give up. Ensure that the bloodline ends with me, but, you know, that's taking the easy way out, and I can't do that. Oh, it's so exhausting. It's so infuriating. You wanna know what else, too? Wait, hold on, let's see if we can win this. Oh yeah, we did! Why did the health bar look like it still had a piece left to it? You know what's something crazy to think about too? The fact that the way my sister acts, nobody likes the way she acts, nobody likes the way she is, but yet she sees nothing wrong with what she does, how she thinks, how she acts. She sees nothing wrong with that, and she just lives her life happily. And people like her, you know? She's the one who's married, not me. And, you know, like, people don't like the way she is, yet she's happy. People like her. Me on the other hand, you know, I actually take this shit. Like, even if I don't like it, I still went out and got the gas, didn't I? Like, let's see. Ooh, this path looks good. Like, she does all this infuriating shit. Nobody likes the way she acts. Nobody really likes the way she is, but people still like her in general, and, you know, she's happy with herself. She sees nothing wrong with the way she is. Me, on the other hand, you know, even though things I don't like, things that infuriate me, I still do them. I still went out and got the gas, didn't I? I still go out and do these things, even when people push me around and treat me like an absolute bitch. I still do them. And yet, I'm the one who's not liked. I try to be the best that I can be, but people still don't like me. You know? I'm the person who drives everyone away. People don't like me. If anything, that should just show you how much of a monster I am on the inside. If people don't like me, but the way my sister acts, well, people still like her. Should just show you that I'm the monster here who is just completely incompatible with this world, with people. Drives everyone away. Somehow finds a way to make everyone mad at me, everyone dislike me. But yet, I try my best. She, on the other hand, she acts like a spoiled brat all the time, and yet she sees nothing wrong with how she is. Me, on the other hand, I torment myself day after day thinking about all the mistakes I've made in the past, everything I've done, all the people I've wronged. Why can't I just die? Why is it so hard to live? Why can't I just die sometimes? Life is so hard. But you know what? I don't want to take the easy way out because there's just too much to do in life. There's too many shows to watch, just like all the shows I'm about to go over, because today we have 4 TV shows to go over once again. We have Invincible, the season finale to episode... Wait, what? The season finale to season 4, episode 8. In fact, we're getting episode 9 tomorrow. My friend sent me a tweet earlier today that was a joke, like Invincible Season 4 Episode 9 is premiering tomorrow. And I'm just like, oh shit, we're getting Episode 10 next week too! But no, there's only 8 episodes. So we have Invincible, we have The Boys, we have Daredevil, and we have Monarch. Okay, so let's start off as usual with Invincible. But before I actually start with the episode itself, I want to mention something from the last episode. Something I thought about, which I was going to mention last time, but I guess I just completely forgot. So I thought about something. Something came to mind. I thought about something. So hear me out. Thrag, Grand Regent Thrag, the leader of the Viltrumites. What was his plan? His plan was to let his enemies come to Viltrum, where they could ambush them. Right. So that was Thrag's plan. Let his enemies, let the Coalition come to him at Planet Viltrum. Okay, that was his plan. Let them come to him. Okay, and what did Thrag have on Telescria? He had a mole, didn't he? He had one of the data twins as a mole feeding him information, didn't he? Right. Okay. Surely the mole would have told him about Space Racer, right? Remember, I forget exactly who said it. I forget if it was Telia or Thetis who said it. Someone mentioned earlier in the season that Space Racer arrived on Telescria days ago. Surely the data twins saw Space Racer, because there's only one way to go into the building to talk to Thetis, and that's walking past the data twins. Even Nolan had to walk past them. So surely the data twins had to have seen Space Racer arrive and knew that he joined the war effort. But what if they didn't know who Space Racer was? Don't forget. Are you winning? Did you hear what I was saying about this this stupid plan? I'm gonna take this Pelipper. You just got here? Alright, let me start over just so you can actually hear this. I thought about this for quite a while, but I guess I just forgot to mention it last time. So I thought about this regarding the last episode of Invincible. What was Grand Regent Thrag's plan? His plan was to let his enemies come to him on Viltrum. Okay. Alright. Did Thrag not have a mole in the Coalition? Yes, he did. Did the mole not tell Thrag about Space Racer? Because surely the data twins saw Space Racer. Like I said, I forget who exactly said it earlier this season. I forget if it was Telia or Thetis who said it. Someone said that Space Racer arrived on Telescria days ago. And surely the data twins knew it was Space Racer, or rather, surely the data twins had to have seen Space Racer, because there's only one way to go and see Thetis, and that's walking past them into the building. They even saw Nolan walk in as they went to talk to Thetis. You might be thinking, but what if they didn't know who Space Racer was? Bullshit. Remember when Mark first introduced Alan to Nolan's books? Even Alan recognized, hey, is that Space Racer? You mean Space Rider, like the book? No, in real life it's Space Racer. He's a legend. As in, nobody's sure if he's real or not. So, out there in the universe, people know about Space Racer. They just don't know if he's real or not because Nolan trapped him 100 years ago. Remember, Nolan's job was to find and eliminate threats. So he found and eliminated Space Racer. Surely, at the time, Thrag and the remaining Viltrumites knew about the threat that Space Racer was. So Thrag knew about Space Racer. The Data Twins surely had to have known Space Racer was joining them. You're telling me the Data Twin, the leaker, the mole, didn't tell Thrag that they had Space Racer amongst them? But Thrag didn't see Space Racer fighting when he went and attacked Telescria. True. And why was that? We saw Space Racer bring an army of Ragnars to Viltrum, so that's probably where Space Racer was. Space Racer went and grabbed the Ragnars. That's why he wasn't there at Telescria to fight. But still, Thrag had to have known about Space Racer, had to have known that Space Racer joined the Coalition because he had a mole there to feed him information. Okay, so let's run this down real quick. Thrag should know about Space Racer. Even 100 years prior, he should know about Space Racer. Thrag should have a mole to tell him about Space Racer. So Thrag knew that Space Racer was fighting against him. And yet, his plan was to let them come to him. Thrag, knowing that Space Racer's gun can destroy anything, maybe even perhaps destroy a planet. Grand Regent Thrag, Grand Retard Thrag's big plan was to let them come to him, where his home planet was, knowing potentially Space Racer could be among them. Good job, Thrag, good job. Your very genius plan of letting your enemies come to you as your one advantage cost you your home planet. Well, I guess Viltrumites really are more of a rip-off of Kryptonians than we thought, because now even they lost their home planet. So yeah, I thought about that. I thought about that for a while. The fact that Thrag should know about Space Racer, about the threat that is Space Racer. And yet he let them come to him, knowing that Space Racer could potentially be coming to fight and has the power to destroy the planet. And like I mentioned before, why can't Space Racer just move his gun while he's shooting to create a line that can cut the planet in half, instead of just a single laser beam, like one single entry point? The example I could think of was, of all things, think of when Kirby had to fight Wolfrath. He still had to swing his sword to make a sword beam that cut Wolfrath in half. Why couldn't Space Racer just do that? he was thinking, I'll just tank it. Anyways, enough blabbing. Let's go over the episode. So let us first talk about Invincible. I mean, there's not a whole lot for me to say about this episode, at least until the end. So we begin this episode, episode 8, the season finale to season 4. We begin the episode by seeing the Viltrumites arriving on Earth and attacking. They kill people, they leave a lot of destruction. They even create a tsunami in their wake. But it turns out that entire sequence was just a hallucination, just a dream that Mark had. Because Mark, he can't sleep. He's being too restless. He's too worried about home, thinking that the Viltrumites are there. They probably got there weeks ago, and who knows what kind of destruction they left in their wake. So everyone is heading back home to Earth, but they are still days away. Zoe tries to talk to them, but they stay silent and don't even hear her. We see Alan is unsure if he is the right fit as Thetis' successor. Anyways, so they make it back to Earth. At first, they plan to just go in quietly, in case the Viltrumites are there. They plan to hide behind the moon and go to Earth quietly, but Mark just flies there immediately. You know how it actually takes hours, like actual genuine hours, for us to make it to the moon? Like it doesn't take, like 10 seconds like the shows love to depict. No, it actually takes quite a while to actually make it to other celestial bodies in our solar system. Yet Mark is able to just move lickety-split. Anyways, so Mark makes it back to Earth and everything looks normal. The Viltrumites must not be here. So he goes and sees Debbie, and he has to explain why Oliver isn't with him. And then, Mark sees Thrag kill Debbie right in front of him. But Mark was just hallucinating. And we're gonna see this throughout the episode. We're gonna see Mark hallucinate throughout the episode. Anyway, so Mark has to go and see Eve, leaving just Nolan behind. Nolan and Debbie talk. Debbie is still pretty mad at him. But Nolan, he just like super speeds, moves right in front of her before she walks back inside, and he's just like, you have to give me a chance to make things right. And at first when he said, or rather when he asked for a second chance, Debbie said, I don't have to do anything for you. When Nolan said, but you will give me a second chance, I'm like, wait, what? Are you threatening her? But no, he explains it's because he knows Debbie believes in second chances and rehabilitation. So he knows that she will give him a second chance regardless. It's because of her beliefs. So it seems like even though Debbie is still mad at him, she knows that Nolan knows this about her. So she reluctantly somewhat agrees, like, fine. We also see Zoe go back to see her father, who is just a big greaseball at this point. Well, that was a nice reunion. We don't see Tech Jacket again. Mark goes and sees Eve, who is much thicker now. For anyone who doesn't know the story, or at least, some people might be thinking she's thicker because she's pregnant. But if you think about it, Mark has been gone for so long, she probably should have had the kid by now, so that's clearly not the case. But yeah, Eve is much thicker now. We also see Cecil and Sinclair to try to open up a portal to get Rex and Amanda back. But instead, a mech squid attack happens. Remember when Kyrosis shouted that? Mech squid attack! Well, yeah, that's like the exact same thing. It really was a mech squid attack. You know what? That's a Diggersby. That's a ground type. I'm gonna go for that. So, because it's too dangerous, Cecil has to call off the search. Rex and Amanda has to find their own way home now. We see over on Telestria that the Coalition of Planets members are not that nice towards Alan. The Coalition wants all Viltrumites extinct. They were fine with Thetis just because he was Viltrumite in name only. But all other Viltrumites, no, they all gotta go. Well, Alan, he finally takes charge. He finally steps up, which is nice. So, Mark goes to see William and Rick at the college, and he hallucinates Anissa killing everyone, including William, who sounds different, you know? But we know it's another hallucination. We see Debbie and Paul talk. Paul actually suggests the idea to Debbie that she goes and sees Oliver on the other planet. Let's see. Alright, Eve also explained why she's much bigger now. She explains how... her dad threw out his back so he couldn't work. So Eve came back home to live with her parents to help out. She also ate a lot more living with her parents, so she hasn't had time to take care of herself. So, yeah, Eve has gained some weight. So we see Eve actually about to tell Mark why her powers weren't working. We see Eve finally about to tell Mark what really went on with her powers. But then Mark sees Thrag kill Eve, even popping her eyeballs out. But it was another hallucination. You know, Eve sees that Mark is going through it, and she was about to not even tell Mark again, but she's just like, no, I need to tell him. Mark, I had an abortion. As if Mark wasn't going through enough already. He has to learn that not only did he get Eve pregnant, he wasn't there for her pregnancy, but he also learned that Eve, she had to, or not had to, but she made the choice to lose the kid, Mark's child. So yeah, this kind of tears Mark apart. Nolan, he goes back to the same spot on the mountain where he beat the life out of Mark. We see him thinking about the words he said, and you know, the famous Think Mark meme. What will you have after 500 years? Cecil shows up, and they have a little chat. You know, Nolan apologizes. It may not be enough, but it is worth something at least. Damn, you gotta feel bad for Cecil. He's just like, I take it you guys won the war? I don't have to worry about any more of your Viltrumite buddies showing up unannounced? We won the war, but there's about 40 Viltrumites left hiding out there somewhere. It's like, what? You call that winning? Nolan mentions that the Coalition is setting up a sensor network to detect if any Viltrumite ships enter Earth's solar system. But, doesn't Earth already have that? Isn't Cecil able to detect stuff coming to Earth? Which I forgot to mention too. One of the previous episodes, when Mark, Nolan, and Oliver left to go fight in the war, Cecil and the entire GDA took a sigh of relief, like, for the first time in 20 years, Earth has been Viltrumite free. Which wasn't Earth Viltrumite free when Mark left with Nualzot to go to Thraxa? There was no Oliver at that time, so wasn't Earth Viltrumite free then? Whatever, so Nolan tells Cecil that, hey, if a Viltrumite ship does show up, it'll take 2 weeks for the Coalition to show up. Look, I know space travel, or at least this makes sense. At least taking 2 weeks of... What do you even say it? How do you even say it? In terms of light speed, it takes 2 weeks. At least that makes some lick of sense. Instead of everyone being able to just move beyond light speed in the show. Borderline teleporting. Anyway, so yeah, Nolan is just like, I almost died out there. Cecil tells him, great. Nearly die 2,341 more times. Oh, you actually see how upset that made Nolan. Thinking about how many lives he took when he, you know, when he kind of went crazy a couple years ago. So we see Mark completely break down in front of Eve out of his fear of the Viltrumites coming to Earth. And even if they don't come to Earth, once they find them, Mark will just have to leave Earth and leave Eve again, which isn't fair, isn't right. For a second, it almost seems like Mark was about to break up with Eve just to spare her from this life. But thank God Eve is a keeper, and she just convinces Mark, nah, we in this together, even if we're sometimes apart. And it's here that Eve actually reveals that it's been 10 months since Mark left. She's just like, who knows, maybe next time it'll be me out in space for 10 months. Alright, so 10 months has passed. We see Nolan call to Mark. He's telling Mark that the ship is almost done setting up the sensor network and that he's about to leave to go see Oliver at Telescria. But then Debbie shows up and she wants to go too. Saying that she would do it for Mark. Oliver's no different. I don't know, that is pretty ballsy, you know? To go to a whole another planet. That is pretty ballsy. Anyway, so yeah, Nolan and Debbie, they leave Earth. Oh yeah, Debbie also mentions that she and Paul ended things months ago. Their lives were just too different. Ooh, I bet Nolan had a huge sigh of relief on the inside, like, yes, I may have a chance. I heard people online saying like they were going to change it from the comics. The fact that, you know, hopefully Debbie doesn't take Nolan back. They should change that from the comics, because if I'm not mistaken, Debbie took Nolan back rather quickly in the comics. Man, Prime Video actually posted a video that was Nolan and Debbie's entire journey so far. The comments were all just fumble of the century. How did Nolan fumble a 10 out of 10 like Debbie? God damn it, my family's telling me to go and check something. I'll be right back. Never catch a break from these people. Anyways, where was I? Anyways, yeah, Nolan and Debbie depart Earth, and we see Mark talk to Cecil. No, not the talk that we've all been expecting. He doesn't bring up Conquest. He actually doesn't bring up Conquest at all. Which, I'm not gonna say I'm a little disappointed by, but just because the internet kept on bringing it up, kept on hyping it up, it's like, damn. Made me want to see something that was just never gonna come. But yeah, it is a little surprising. Mark never brings up to Cecil, hey, remember when you told me Conquest was dead? But I suppose Mark was going through enough already. He talks to Cecil and he hallucinates once again Thrag killing Cecil. Well, Mark asks Cecil for professional help because Mark, he's not exactly in a great spot right now. So now that Nolan's gone, Debbie's gone, Oliver's still on Telestria recovering, Mark is all alone at home. So Eve suggests that he goes for a therapeutic flight. So Mark just flies around, and yeah, that does help. Until he sees Thrag. He's not sure if that's really him, if he's really there, because he's been hallucinating him all episode. So he closes his eyes, clears his mind, opens his eyes. Thrag is still there. Thrag is just like, yes, we are here. So this is really him. He's really here. Thrag is really here. So Mark attacks. Thrag just eats all of the punches with his hairline. And Thrag actually tells Mark to stop. Interestingly though, Thrag... First of all, I love that Thrag as a character, he's much more calmer, much more tamer than literally every Viltrumite we've seen yet. Thrag doesn't attack unless he has to. While majority of other Viltrumites are absolute lunatics, Thrag is cool, calm, and collected. I like that about him. So Thrag pretty much explains to Mark that, yes, the remaining Viltrumites, there are 37 of them left, the remaining Viltrumites are already on Earth, living among them. And we see how some of the Viltrumites have adapted life. We see Lucan walking the streets in a suit and tie. We see Anissa in a red dress. And here's the big one. We see Krieg already rizzing up some ladies. Man, I have seen so many posts about Krieg. People saying, yo, Krieg took the command a little too seriously. And I see people saying like, yo, upon arriving to Earth, Krieg discovered cigarettes, motorcycles, and redheads. He is never going back. Earth won. He is about to see why this planet changed Nolan. And that is pretty hilarious, the fact that Krieg, of all people, folded so quickly. And this is only the start for Krieg. If you know, you know. And I've also been seeing memes about like, ooh, the next time Mark watches Family Feud. It's like, ooh, what job will Lucan take up now that he's on Earth? Perhaps he'll go and host a family game show? Man, I've already seen edits of Steve Harvey as Lucan. It's absolutely the best thing I've ever seen. In fact, have you guys seen the meme of Viltrumites on TikTok? Look up Iron Stash. There's a clip of this dude dressed up as a Viltrumite playing Lucan. He's just like, alright, I'm making this right now because the Grand Regent don't know I'm making this shit, but another war, another big dub for Luke. Only making it with minor scrapes and bruises. And then you have Iron Stash playing Thrag. Viltrumites. Lucan specifically. Why are you posting on TikTok? Oh, wait until the Viltrumites learn everything Earth has to offer. Wait till they learn about movies, video games, the internet. What else can they learn about? What about other sports that Earth has? What are the good things that Earth have? But like, yeah, wait until... What about food? You know? Wait until the Viltrumites learn all the wonders that Earth has. Because I can guarantee you, Viltrumites don't have that stuff. Don't have majority of that stuff. So anyways, Thrag's plan is basically, They will live among Earths, live in their society, use them to breed and rebuild their race. And in exchange, Thrag offers a truce. They will not harm, influence, protect, aid Earth in any way as long as they are undisturbed. Any attempt by themselves or the coalition of planets to remove them will result in the Viltrumites retaliating, fighting back, killing millions, and a less pleasant life for the survivors. Mark has to make a choice. Accept Thrag's terms, or annihilation for both their people. Mark is hesitant at first, but then he thinks about all the destruction that could happen, all the people that could die that he loves, and he thinks about Eve. So Mark reluctantly says, yes, I agree to your terms. But Mark is now panicking on the inside. He's thinking, oh my god, what have I done? And I like this too. Thrag actually kind of comforts Mark. He actually reassures him, you have just saved the lives of not only millions, but you've also saved both our races. Do not forget that. He actually comforts Mark. I like that about Thrag. Damn, if only he didn't kill Conquest. If only Conquest could have lived amongst humanity and changed into Kind Quest. You know, Carl Quest. I would have loved to see that. You know, isn't that just a testament to how much people love Conquest? Because, let's face it, Conquest is an absolute psychopath. He is an absolute unhinged psychopath. But people love him. People have made the Kind Quest meme, the Carl Quest meme. That just shows that people love Conquest to the point that they want to see Conquest happy and normal. They want to see Conquest that way. Like, despite how crazy and unhinged Conquest is, people still want to see what's best for Conquest, and I love that. Me too. I love Conquest. I want to see Conquest wholesome as well. But, too bad he's dead. So now the Viltrumites are living among Earth. Oh, I can't wait until we see them completely abandon their Viltrumite ways and want to live the peaceful, happy lives they have on Earth. I also question, how did they get the stuff that they got? If they arrived on Earth only weeks ago, they have no money. How did they start? You know? How did Lucan buy that suit? How did Anissa buy that dress? How did Krieg buy a motorcycle, buy cigarettes? You know what I'm saying? I can only assume they stole it at first, right? Because I doubt they would make themselves known and go rob a bank right away. Anyway, so, post-credit scene. Oh, wait, actually, before that. People were also pointing out that when Anissa was looking at Mark with lust in her eyes when he said he killed Conquest, people were saying, yo, Mark, if you don't want that smoke coming your way, pass the controller, big bro. Let me take over. I volunteer as tribute. Given what we know Anissa does to Mark in the near future, people were saying, just like the impact frames with Thrag, yo, we want to see every impact frame with every bounce Anissa will do to Mark. I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait. Is that bad of me to say? I know what she does is terrible, but like, I can't wait. I can't wait to see how the show actually translate that to screen. Anyway, so post-credit scene, we see that Alan is watching a tape recording a... Let me start again. We see that Alan watches a recording left for him by Thetis, telling him to use the Scourge virus to finish what he started. This war will not end until every last Viltrumite is dead. But he also explains a caveat. This time, the Scourge virus is so powerful, Thetis fears that some alien races with similar genetics may also be killed from it. So, this Scourge virus has the potential to, I don't know, wipe out the entire human race. So now Alan has to make a choice. Does he use the Scourge virus or not and give the remaining Viltrumites, wherever they are, a chance to rebuild or a chance to retaliate? Because if he uses it, not only does he kill Mark, Nolan, Oliver, he also potentially kills all of humanity and any other alien races out there with similar genetics. You know, I'm thinking to myself, if Thetis had this improved Scourge virus this whole time, and if Thetis had the intention to kill all Viltrumites at some point, why didn't he just use it to begin with? If he knew that similar races out there could die as well, well, an entire planet versus potentially eons of decimation by the hands of Viltrumites, I think Thetis would have used the Scourge virus if it meant all humans on Earth would be dead also. I think Thetis would have done that a long time ago. So, why the hell didn't he do it yet? I can only assume he didn't use it yet because it wasn't ready yet. It wasn't perfected yet. Because if it was perfected a long time ago, then surely he would have just used it. Because he didn't know the wrath the first Scourge virus had. He didn't know only around 50 was left until Nolan told him. So Thetis was still under the impression that there were millions, billions of them out there. Sounds like a good, sounds like a pretty good motivation for Thetis to use it, no? So, like, why didn't Thetis use it earlier? I can only assume he didn't have it perfected yet. But if that's the case, it took him 1,000 years to perfect it? And even if Thetis were to use it, it's not like anyone would have known what happened. Every Viltrumite out there in the universe would have just dropped like flies. And every human on Earth would have died not knowing what happened. You know? They wouldn't have known a planet 2 weeks light speed away was the cause. Humanity would have just went extinct in a heartbeat and no one would have ever known. No one ever would have known it was Thetis. So, like, why didn't he just go ahead and do it? You know? Sure, he would be committing universal genocide, but for the long run, I feel like Thetis would have thought it'd be worth it. So yeah, I'm thinking, why didn't Thetis just use it? I can only assume he didn't use it because it wasn't ready yet. And, you know, learning about the fact that Invincible of Earth, who is half Viltrumite, rebelled against his father from taking over the planet, I'm sure that also motivated Thetis not to use it when the virus were to be perfected. But yeah, there you go. So let's just move on, because I still got 3 other shows to talk about. So let's talk about The Boys, Season 5, Episode 4. This marks halfway done with Season 5, the final season. Oh, speaking of which, now that Season 4 of Invincible is done, we are now halfway through the story. We are now halfway done. So let's say we are exactly halfway done. So the show maybe will have 8 seasons. Yo, by the time season 8 rolls around, my friends and I will be almost 30. Jesus. Oh, you want to know what else? I saw this interview of Robert Kirkman. How he was saying in the interview, like, people, at first, they were complaining it took years for us to get a season out. But now that we get seasons out yearly, there is no praise, there's no thanks, there's no thank you for working so hard to get us this amazing content out at such a timely manner. Thank you. We don't have to wait years in between seasons. Robert Kirkman just pretty much says, no, instead of thanks for pumping out the shows, working so hard, it's just complaint, complaint, complaint. Continuity errors, bad animation, complaint, complaint, complaint. And you know what? Robert Kirkman's right. Perhaps we treated you too harshly. Yeah, he's right. Sure, the animators, they, you know, the show could be better. Could be much better. The animation could be better. Some continuity errors could probably be avoided. But, like, they still work really hard to pump these shows out year by year. Animation takes a very long time. So yeah, we should be more grateful. You know, I never really cared about the animation. Sure, would I like it to be better? Of course, but, you know, it's fine enough. I never really cared about the animation, even though I would like it to be better, but, you know, I'm fine with what we have. I just point out some of the continuity errors we see. You know? Anyway, so we are halfway done with Invincible now. So let's move on. Let's talk about The Boys. Season 5, Episode 4. We begin the episode by seeing Homelander meeting with Firecracker, and he tells her his plan to ascend to be a god. And we even see Firecracker start to doubt Homelander, like start to think, yo, Homelander's lost it. He has lost his mind. Homelander, he wants Firecracker to be the one to spread the word about him as a god. So we see Butcher with Ryan. He actually spoils Star Wars for him, spoiling that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Butcher tells Ryan it was pointless to face Homelander without the virus. You know, instead of being reckless and finding Homelander himself, should have waited until they actually had the virus to carry out the plan. Butcher leaves to get him water. Ryan is gone by the time he comes back. Alright, so we see the boys actually assemble again. Back to their past glory. We see MM dripped out with chains, watches. He shaves his beard slightly, trims it up, cleans it up. Frenchie trying to recreate whatever left they have of the virus. Frenchie says it'll take weeks for the virus to multiply and be enough. In the meantime, they decide to go to Fort Harmony to try to find V1. Annie, we see her visit her dad, and it turns out her dad has a son, has a whole nother family now. Annie now has a brother. His name is Mason. So, Soldier Boy meets with Sage, who tells him Homelander is going to Fort Harmony to find V1, and Sage taunts the hell out of Soldier Boy, like, once Homelander gets his hands on V1, he'll be immortal, just like you. You can spend eternity with your son, together. Just you and him. Forever. And we know how Soldier Boy feels about Homelander. So the boys, they walk in the woods. Kimiko mentions it's silent and there's no animals. Huey trips, completely face plants, and he finds the first of many dead bodies. So we see the Deep eat sushi for the first time. It's like, man, I don't understand why people are saying this. People online for years have been asking, does Aquaman eat fish? It's like, we eat animals on the land. Why can't someone like Aquaman or the Deep eat fish, eat seafood? So anyways, yeah, Deep eats sushi for the first time, and Noir just knocks it out of his hand because Noir is mad. Noir is mad at, you know, when Deep knocked him out and took credit for Stan Edgar. The reason Noir doesn't talk anymore is because he is fully committed to the role of Black Noir, no longer speaking. But he speaks now because his helmet was off. Yo, I can't be the only one who thinks that the show heavily character assassinated Black Noir. Man, killing him off was such a terrible move, you know? The original Black Noir had so much aura to him. Like, he actually felt like a menace. But this Black Noir, you know it's still Black Noir. You know he's just as deadly, but it's just not the same feeling anymore. You know it's someone else under the mask. Ashley and Old Father have a sex session, and it's revealed that Old Father's church is bankrupt. Firecracker comes in looking for them both. The boys make it to Fort Harmony, where they start to sound a little different. How Huey is a little bit pissed off that Annie is acting like a whole bitch lately, and it's like, whoa, Huey, you don't sound like that. You would never say that about Annie. They walk towards Fort Harmony, which is surrounded by dead bodies. Well, that's where all the animals were. Explains why there were no animals or no sounds in the woods. So, yeah, anyways, Annie has a talk with her father and gets invited to stay for dinner. So we see the reason why Firecracker wanted Ashley and Old Father. It's because Vought is brainstorming how to spread the message of Homelander as God. And also, the worm is there for some reason. Yada yada yada. Firecracker does come up with a plan. The Democratic Church of America. We'll have to see how that plays out. Homelander and Soldier Boy do go to Fort Harmony together. Soldier Boy reveals that he slept with Stormfront every now and then, like once or twice. And it's like, so did Homelander. Sleeping with the same ageless, immortal woman that your father slept with. Yikes. You know, I heard chatter about this online. I was actually a little bit afraid they were going to reveal Stormfront was actually Homelander's mother, even though that would not have made any sense. I was actually a little afraid they were going to reveal that, like Homelander slept with his own mother. Thank God they did not do that. Inside Fort Harmony, everyone is acting aggressively, very aggressively, except for Frenchie. So we see a talk between Annie and her father, and he tells her why he left. It's because he didn't want to keep lying to her. So his entire life, Annie's entire life, was under the belief that she was chosen by God to have these powers, when it was actually Annie's mother who suggested the idea of pumping her with Compound V. And he just couldn't lie to her to her face anymore about, like, you were chosen, my dear. No, actually, your mother just injected you with a drug. Mason isn't happy, though, finding out that his sister is Starlight. He believes Homelander's lies about Annie. So she wants to talk to him. Her dad actually warns her, be sure to knock first. I made that mistake. I learned that the hard way. Anyway, so seeing more dead bodies, Frenchie knows why. Wait, Frenchie knows that they tore each other apart. And Frenchie actually has an idea of what's going on. He has this idea. Maybe the V1 spilled into the plants, mutated, and the spores coming off of the plants make them rage. Rage to the point they kill each other. It's actually a pretty fun moment here. Huey mentions, what, like The Last of Us? But then Frenchie's like, no, that was just The Walking Dead with mushrooms. Wow, why do I love that? The fact that the boys reference both The Last of Us and The Walking Dead. Oh, speaking of Walking Dead, there is a rumor going around right now that Dead City Season 3 will be the last season. If that's the case, that concerns me. Because Daryl Dixon is ending in 4 seasons. If the ones who... Wait, what? If Dead City is ending in 3 seasons, then what's left? All Walking Dead shows will have ended. We'll just have to wait and see if they really are going to announce some sort of reunion TV show. Another spin-off. Anyway, so yeah, everyone is raging out. Why is Frenchie acting normal? He realizes he's immune because of all the drugs he's used over the decades. Alright, that's a very little convenient moment right there. Butcher sees Homelander and Soldier Boy coming, so they plan to attack, but Frenchie stops them, knowing that, yo, you attack them right now, we all die. And Homelander finds V1, if he does, we're all screwed. We see Mason listening to Deep and Noir's podcast. Annie comes in, she sees lotion and posters of a lot of Vought female soups like Firecracker, She-Line. No wonder her dad warned her to knock first. It's like, first of all, thank God that he did not have a poster of Starlight up there, because he would not have known that was his sister. Thank God he just happened to not find her attractive. So she tries to talk to Mason. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so the boys, they actually find a safe that's been busted open, which could have potentially held V1 in it. They kind of deduced, because of the trail of heroin left behind, that a soup by the name of Bomb Sight may have been there recently and took the V1. Anyway, so continuing with Annie, one of her dad's cop friends show up because Mason reported Annie. There's a standoff between the cop and Annie, but then her dad stops them both. Damn, I really thought this was going to be one of those moments where someone dies, tragically. Like Annie's father jumps in the way of the bullet to save her, but thankfully no. No, everything's fine. So Butcher and MM, their original plan was actually to burn V1, like destroy it if they find it, instead of using it to spare Kamiko and Annie. So the boys start to fight and Frenchie has to run, otherwise he'll be caught in the crossfire and be kind of torn apart by his friends. So yeah, Homelander taunts Soldier Boy even more, to the point that Soldier Boy actually betrays Homelander, locks him up in a room that slowly kills him. He does this because he doesn't want Homelander to find V1 and be immortal with him forever. So Frenchie, he finds the source of what's causing all the spores, what's causing all the rage. Butcher finds Homelander locked up and they have a chat. It's been a while since we had a Butcher and Homelander chat. Just the two of them. Huey, MM, and Kimiko fight. MM runs knowing he is not winning. Knowing he is going to get folded by Kimiko. Huey though, yeah, he runs also, but then Kimiko chases after him. So he kind of just locks himself into this like almost furnace looking place, and he corners himself. He needs to hold the door shut, otherwise Kimiko will rip his head off if she gets in. Frenchie finds and literally taunts Soldier Boy to follow him, leading him straight to the source known as Quinn. Known as Quinn, he was another test subject along with Soldier Boy back when, you know, Dr. Vought injected them with V1. Didn't I mention yet that Fort Harmony is where Soldier Boy was injected with V1 by Dr. Vought himself? Only Soldier Boy can kill Quinn, but he refuses. So Frenchie has to, once again, taunt him to the point where Soldier Boy just unleashes his rage, you know, lets off one of his big blasts, and kills Quinn. So everyone is able to think for themselves again. And immediately after Soldier Boy blasts Quinn, it looks like he shows regret. Like he didn't want to do it. Anyways, Annie leaves after dinner and her dad tells her not to give up on who she loves, like he did. Homelander escapes. He almost wants to kill Soldier Boy, but then he just leaves him. We see Kimiko seemingly break up with Frenchie over not wanting to change him. Because she had to leave the life of chaos, which is why she's able to speak now. But, you know, Frenchie, he thrives in chaos. That's where he's at his best. And he doesn't want to change him. So it seems like Kimiko broke up with Frenchie. I'm really fearing that one of these two characters will die by the end. Butcher and MM, they're cool as they watch Soldier Boy's old footage. Old Father makes the announcement of Homelander. Homelander enters. Everyone cheers. As everyone cheers, Homelander just hears silence. And there you go, there's the episode. I gotta hurry this up. Anyway, so, moving on. Daredevil, Season 2, Episode 6. We begin by seeing Fisk by Vanessa's body in the hospital. The doctor comes in who just says way too much to try to comfort Fisk. So Fisk hugs him and actually kills him by crushing him. Damn. Yo, that is quite a brutal way to die. As if being crushed wasn't bad enough. Being crushed by someone like Wilson Fisk? Oh my god. That is brutal. You saw how strong he was. You saw how capable he is to crush a human being. He was able to smush Commissioner Gallo's head. So imagine that, but your spine. Your entire midsection. Don't worry about the body. Buck will take care of the body. So Fisk and the entire task force are at a cathedral for Vanessa's memorial service. And throughout the service, we do see flashbacks to the Netflix show of Fisk and Vanessa, but not in the old Netflix full screen. No, it was actually in this show's aspect ratio. I do like these small details with the aspect ratio. So then we see armed guys attacking a house where a little girl is playing. Either tear gas or a grenade is thrown in, and the little girl just plays with it. We see the armed guys, they're being beat up outside, and it's revealed that this little girl is the daughter of Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones returns in this episode. I'm not gonna lie, when the opening credits played, I saw Kristen Ritter's name, I audibly gasped. I actually gasped. Obviously, I knew Jessica Jones was returning this season, but I didn't know which episode. And I'll be honest, I thought Jessica Jones would be like an end of episode reveal, like the very last scene she would show up, and it's gonna be a big moment, like, oh my god, the queen is back. But no, she's actually in this episode, primarily, like, well, not primarily, but she's actually in this episode. She's just on a, she's not just an episode ending tease. So we see Angela's aunt, Soledad, treating Dex. So no, it was not Claire like I thought last time. It was just Angela's aunt. Karen says her source is almost ready to testify about Red Hook. And what's amazing is Matt and Karen discuss the events of Season 3. Where, you know, Dex killed Father Lambton, how she convinced Matt not to kill Fisk. But Karen ponders if that was the wrong choice. Considering Karen still has nightmares about killing Wesley, who we saw return last episode. So Matt, he leaves to go meet with someone. Gee, I wonder who. Now, I'm not sure if I got this correct. It looks like the state governor was trying to convince Sheila to run against Fisk in the next election. It's also Daniel's birthday, so BB wants to celebrate, and they plan to go to Daniel's mother's house. Buck talks to Daniel alone. Daniel is still freaking out over what they just did, you know, disposing the body. Buck wants Daniel to test if BB is the mole. So the plan is to leak fake information to her to see if it will resurface later on. We see Charles, he calls Fisk, who just stays silent, and he is not happy with him. You know, the plan to move those weapons, yeah, it seems like it has completely failed. So, in front of City Hall, we see not only respect for Vanessa, but we also see protests start to break out. And here's the highlight of the episode. Jessica meets with Daredevil. And Jessica actually reveals that it was not the task force who attacked her. Also, I forgot to mention that her daughter looks a little dark. Perhaps she actually married Luke Cage? I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan of them setting up Luke Cage and Claire Temple as a love interest. I much prefer Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. So, when Luke Cage and Claire were together, seemingly for the long run, I wasn't a huge fan. And then Luke Cage got cancelled. It's like, well, damn. But now, if Marvel Studios is bringing them back and actually, I don't want to say course correcting, but like actually making Jessica and Luke Cage together officially, permanently, yes. Yes, I want that. Anyway, so Jessica says that she dug up that it wasn't the task force who attacked her, it was actually part of the US government. So Jessica tells Matt about Charles. Matt is also able to tell something is wrong with Jessica. She says that after Danielle, her daughter, it just comes in and out. So like her powers just fluctuate. Her powers don't always work anymore ever since she had a daughter. So this is the highlight of the episode. Daredevil and Jessica Jones attack the warehouse of weapons and fight off a bunch of anti-vigilante task force, blowing it up in the process. Jessica even punches Powell in the face, but it hurt her fist, so her powers aren't always working. We see Heather walking around in Vanessa's room, and is it me or did she steal a ring? Buck comes in, trying to comfort Heather, who Buck is able to tell she is going through it right now, not only with Vanessa, but, you know, what she experienced last season. Heather, she feels guilt over killing her patient, even if it was Muse who, you know, cut and choked her. So Buck says, "Show me." Buck actually allows Heather to choke him the way Muse choked her to let her emotions out. Someone as cold and dangerous as Buck allowing someone to lay their hands on his neck and choke him? I don't know, that's kind of crazy. Do I want to do Amnesia? You know what? No, I'll just do a throat chop. Daniel tells BB, literally it's just like, "BB, alright, I gotta, if I tell you this, you gotta promise, it's between you and me, alright?" So Daniel tells BB that Fisk will not run for re-election. Yeah, that's like the fake information that he's going to tell her. Or it might be real, I don't know. We don't know if Fisk is actually going to rerun or not, considering what happens later on. So Powell, he gives the access card back to the guy who wanted to help Matt and Karen. You know, the person who is betraying the task force. Dex, he wakes up in front of Karen. And Karen is about to shoot Dex for Foggy, but Matt stops her. And then we see Karen break down. The fact that Matt always seems to choose the wrong people. And I'm not gonna lie, Karen kind of has a point. Matt, he's always put his own life and the lives of the people he loved in danger because he was trying to protect Wilson Fisk, protect Ben Poindexter. And look at that, in the process of just life, Foggy Nelson got killed. Karen Page almost gets killed. Who else, right? Father Lampton. Yeah, Karen, she also knows that Christophe is probably dead. Anyway, so we see even bigger riots outside of City Hall. At Daniel's mother's house, BB almost texts someone about Fisk not rerunning for election, but she decides not to. And if you pay close attention, her phone, her contact, was someone by the name of Ellison. Wonder who could that be? Where have I heard that name before? Anyway, so the riots outside the City Hall that last until nighttime, we see that the protesters are starting to put on Daredevil masks. That's pretty cool. We see Charles visit Governor McCaffrey, offering to, you know, solve everything. So we'll have to see what he means by that. Daniel and BB, they almost kiss. But then Daniel, he has to pull away because he found the SD card in BB's jacket pocket. And he says he may not be able to protect her from Buck anymore. We see Karen infiltrate the City Hall protests in a wig. And then she projects the Red Hook testimonies for everyone to see. Daredevil, he actually visits Fisk as he sits alone in his underground dungeon where he had, oh, what's his name, that Vanessa had an affair with. And he's sitting alone in front of Rabbit in a snowstorm. It's actually amazing that Matt and Fisk, they're like the co-leads of the show, but yet they barely share screen time together. So anyways, they are finally on screen together. They talk for a little bit, and then, you know, Matt just saying the names of everyone who's gone angers Fisk. So they fight, and it is a pretty badass fight between Daredevil and Kingpin. And you can see just how powerful Wilson Fisk is. Because with a single punch from his bare fist, he is able to demolish a brick column. Like, the bricks shatter. That tells you how hard of a punch he has. We see outside Powell, he actually knows that the dude, what's his name? The dude who helped Karen and Matt, you know, that he is a traitor. So he just executed him right then and there. Even Cole is like, what the hell, man? He was one of us. So we see that the the task force are now using more lethal force to break up all the riots, all the protests. In the process, I forget his name. No, not BB's. Angela's friend who delivered the message. Yeah, he gets hit to where Karen has to step in to try to help. In the process, her wig gets knocked off, and then Powell finds her. Powell finds Karen Page and holds her at gunpoint. Uh-oh, that's not good. Well, when Daredevil and Kingpin fight, we do see that recreation from the comic moment where Daredevil knees Kingpin right in the face, right where the jawline is. And it's seemingly like Daredevil knocked out Kingpin. So we'll have to see where that goes. And, well, that's the episode. The show is great so far, you know? You can see a huge improvement from Season 2 compared to Season 1. I will take this, so no one else does. And then I will take this. Give me 1 second. I'll take that. Well, Flygon's also ground type. Oh yeah, I also got 2 shiny Meltans in Pokemon Go today. I actually got them back to back. I will get as many as I can, and I will transfer them into Legend ZA. Ah, sorry, Mega Flygon. Yeah, where's the shiny... Wait, where's the Mega Flygon? I know, right? Okay, let's continue. One more show to go over today. Monarch, Season 2, Episode 9. So this is the second last episode. As of right now, it has not been renewed for a Season 3. So we'll have to see. Me personally, I feel like Season 1 was much stronger than Season 2. That's not to say I didn't enjoy Season 2. Season 1 was just like, wow, they hit a home run their first try. Season 2 was just, it was okay. So hopefully we do get a Season 3. But issue with the Season 3 is, they've already taken a majority of the empty space where things didn't happen. Because in between Godzilla and King of the Monsters, we got Kong Skull Island, a prequel. So, movies-wise, we didn't get anything taking place between 2014 and 2019. Well, the show filled in that gap. The show filled in 2015 to 2018. So, you know, when is Season 3 going to take place? Anyways, that's besides the point. So, Monarch, Season 2, Episode 9. We begin in the middle of a stormy ocean where Godzilla is chasing Titan X, followed by Outpost 18. And we see Godzilla actually spares Titan X because it didn't need to, didn't need to kill Titan X. Our characters realize that Godzilla, to command order, Godzilla led Titan X back to Skull Island where it belongs. So that's why Godzilla didn't kill Titan X, but instead, it just seems like Godzilla was leading Titan X back to where it belongs. Our characters, they also need to figure out who was capable of taking the egg, if not Monarch or Apex. They do know that Kate and Kentaro are on Skull Island, so that's where they need to go. Kate questions why Kentaro is working with Isabel Simmons. So Monarch arrives with a bunch of soldiers, so you know they're gonna die. Anyone who is not a main character of ours is gonna die. That's just how these moments go. They have all these armed soldiers, and of course they die first, not any of the characters we care about. So they use Titan X's tracker. Keiko and Lee try to figure out Titan X's migratory path on that, Keiko and Lee, they try to figure out Titan X's migratory path that should end on Skull Island. Like, for centuries, Titan X has migrated around the globe, but always came back to Skull Island. So they need to try to figure that out. We actually flash back to 1958, where Keiko and William, they get married by some random guy. Literally, just some random guy. It's raining outside. They walk towards a building. They knock on the door. When the dude opens the door, just like, we would like to get married. All right then. I think the dude mentioned that they're currently in Australia getting married. So, as they get married, Billy has an idea to use probes in the rift, randomly. He just suddenly has an idea. But then Keiko's like, dear, we're getting married. Oh, yes, right, of course. So they exchange vows. Keiko has a beautiful way with words, but Billy, he has no words to say. He just has nothing to say. All he really says is, I do. Kate, Kentaro, and Isabel go to an abandoned Monarch base that's on Skull Island, which has been completely taken over by Isabel Simmons' group. They don't have a name yet. You know, they don't have a cool name like Monarch or Apex. They plan to use the egg, or rather they did use the egg as bait for Titan X to open a rift. Their original plan was to capture some scarabs until Kentaro discovered that Titan X has an egg. So they want to use the egg as bait for Titan X to open a rift. Why do they want to open a rift? It's because Isabel, she wants to explore and study Axis Mundi. Her train of thinking is, what if someone has a terminal illness? That person can go into a place like Axis Mundi for a week, 2 weeks, a month. They can come out into the future, and maybe there will be a cure by then. Or what if someone just wants to explore the future? They could go into Axis Mundi and come out maybe 1,000 years later. Yeah, Kate's not a big fan of Isabel pretty much using Axis Mundi as her own personal time machine. Keiko actually asks Lee how he even got a tracker on Titan X. Lee says he only recently remembered, thus proving that it's not a time loop. Lee actually did change the past, and he recently got those memories. So as they're traversing, they get attacked by some freaky looking vine creatures, where, of course, several soldiers die. One of them almost actually gets May. One of them has their vines wrapped around May's leg. Tim saves her. So May gets out of the creature's grip, and then the creature just leaves May alone? Like, it doesn't attack again? Okay, lucky her. So in the scuffle, Lee and Keiko got separated from the rest. So they decide to split off and search for the rift themselves. Because they know the rest of the group, they have Titan X's tracker, so they'll be fine. So Isabel, she says she's already working on an entry vehicle to go into Axis Mundi. Well, later on in the movies, we do see our characters using entry vehicles into Hollow Earth. You know, it even resuscitated Kong right before Godzilla. What? Right before Mechagodzilla. Anyway, so Kate wants both of them to leave, but Kentaro stays. And Isabel just makes Kate leave. She pretty much asks two guys to escort her against her will to a helicopter to get her to leave. And speaking of helicopters, we see that they are actually using a helicopter, emitting sounds to attract Kong, distracting him. We'll hear why later. So Isabel shows Kentaro a big open valley, like a big open space. This is where she will conduct their experiments. Kentaro, he still questions why he's even here, like why is he so important to Isabel for all this? Isabel is just like, do you know why why they chose Neil Armstrong to go to the moon? Because he was the best pilot? Well, yes, they were all the best pilot, but it's because they chose Neil because he was going to make history as the first person who walked on the moon. She chose Kentaro because he is about to make history, just like Neil Armstrong. He is the grandson of William and Keiko Randa, the son of Hiroshi Randa. No better person than him. So pretty much Isabel's plans are revealed. She wants to kill Kong because they can't do the experiment with Titan X if Kong is on the island. So Kentaro is pretty upset that he was never told this part of the plan, that he was lied to. Isabel's almost piss-poor reasoning for not telling Kentaro is like, well, I know if I told you, then you wouldn't be on board, and I didn't want to do this plan alone. And it's kind of weird when she says she doesn't want to do this alone, because later on we see Isabel happy. She holds Kentaro's hand, she hugs him. It's like, you are being awfully close and touchy. So, yeah, Kate is being escorted to the helicopter forcefully, but then she just runs out and runs back onto the base. It was that easy. Anyways, they know that Titan X... Wait. My bad. They summon Titan X with the egg, but it was a trap. They knock out Titan X with anesthetic gas. And this is, you know, this is where, like I said, Isabel is all excited, and she holds Kentaro's hand and hugs him. Because now they have Titan X incapacitated. Or sedated, I should say. So back with Keiko and Lee, Keiko is actually wondering why Billy thought Skull Island was so important. Important enough to leave Hiroshi behind. We flash back to 1959, after Kay fell. Supposedly not long after Kay fell. We see Lee and Billy at what looks like a train system. What? A train station, where they discuss Keiko. Billy actually thinks that Keiko might still be alive. And Lee is mad that they didn't listen to him. They didn't listen to him, and that cost them Keiko. Anyway, so Isabel wants to use the egg to motivate Titan X to fight and kill Kong. Isabel's people found the tracker on Titan X's body, so they remove it. Kate, as she runs and hides in the base, she finds a radio, luckily. She connects and tries to warn May and Tim about Simmons and tell them about the valley. Lee and Keiko go to the... Excuse me. Lee and Keiko, they go to the same place on Skull Island that we see in the movie. The place with the toxic fumes and the giant skeletons. And it's actually here that Keiko finds Billy's belongings. She finds his camera. She realizes that this is probably the place that Bill Randa died. And she's not wrong. In the movie, in Kong Skull Island, we do see this is where Bill Randa died. He was eaten by a skullcrawler right here. Anyways, flashback, now to 1968. Bill is teaching a class where students don't believe him. Bill Randa was ahead of his time, I suppose. We actually see Suzuki visit him. Dr. Suzuki tries to tell him to go home to his son, but Bill says he can't because their work isn't done. You know, their meeting was because Suzuki was supposed to deliver something to Bill, but because Suzuki doesn't really want to see Bill spiral, he actually warns Bill, don't waste your life trying to find the family you lost, but rather spend the time you have with the family you still have. So Suzuki almost refuses to give Bill the object. It isn't until Bill just like rips the suitcase out of Suzuki's hand, the object falls out of the suitcase, and Bill just takes it and runs. What object did Bill take, you might ask? Well, actually, on present day, Lee and Keiko find the same object on Skull Island. In fact, they find several of them. These things are written with years and locations. These things are written like New Guinea or Loch Ness, or, you know, written with various locations of the world and different years on them too. These things are the probes that he was talking about. Billy traveled the world throwing probes into rifts, and they all came out on Skull Island. That explains why there's so many of them on Skull Island. Billy traveled the world throwing these probes into the rifts, and they all came out on Skull Island. But they're not just probes. Keiko actually finds something inside. She finds a letter inside that has what he would have said as his vows. Billy was trying to find Keiko this whole time, which is why he came to and died on Skull Island. It's why he left Hiroshi behind. He was trying to find Keiko this whole time. Oh, the heartbreak. It's even more heartbreaking knowing that, you know, Bill Randa's ultimate fate, being eaten by a skull crawler. Oh, the heartbreak. You feel so bad for them. Well, at this point, the anesthetic is starting to wear off on Titan X. They also planted a weapon on Titan X, a weapon to motivate her with pain. Also, Kong is being lured towards Titan X, so everyone is running out of time. Kentaro leaves to find Kate, who found the egg in the base. And Kentaro reveals why he's staying here, why he's even working with Isabel. He reveals his plan. He reveals that his plan is to save their father. Hiroshi doesn't have to die. Kentaro believes he can save him. That is a crazy plan. But if you think about it, yeah. If you can use Axis Mundi to go forward in time, why can't you use it to go back? But obviously there's one episode left this season, so if the storyline continues, it will have to be in Season 3. I do hope this show gets a Season 3. This is a pretty good show. I do like this show. Anyways, folks, we are now done with Invincible. We are one episode away from Monarch ending. So the only shows we have left currently is The Boys and Daredevil. But to also fill in the gap, we also have from Season 4, yippee, oh, did I mention yet that we actually got the full-blown trailer for Spider Noir? It looks fantastic. We got the trailer for both black and white and in color. I will be watching both. I will watch both back to back. I'm gonna watch Black and White first, and then I'm gonna watch the episode in color. I'm gonna watch both. But that doesn't come out until like a month from now. So at the moment, we will only have Daredevil, we will have The Boys, and we will have From. Anyways, that's all I have to talk about the shows. Finally. So, this will be the last run, and then I'm gonna go to bed. Well, how is everyone? This will be the last run. You know those Pokemon figures I showed off last time? I didn't even open them yet. They've been sitting beside me, still in the bag this whole time. Look, time is not on my side. You know what? Yeah, I'm taking this. Me going to where the electric type isn't great. But it is better than bringing a grass or a bug type in. Nice. You know, I buy lobster for her, I cook dinner for her, I even do the dishes. And yet I'm the one who has to go out and get the gas. Well, I'm hoping that acid spray, you know, can take this thing down quick. Why is artillery so slow? Well, shit. Well, if I don't use it, I'm gonna waste it. Oh yeah, there was a shooting against Donald Trump again a couple days ago. Ain't that kind of crazy? People do not like the guy. Look, I may not agree with everything he's doing, but, you know, I like him. I like him doesn't mean I agree with everything he's doing. Well, obviously acid spray's not gonna work here. I don't like Durant being in here. And I was right not to like Durant being in here. Okay. I lived. But now my water type moves will do less damage. Oh, I'm hoping Barbarical uses its water type move too. What was it called again? Razor Shell. Damn it! Ooh, Heatran's paralyzed. Nice. You know, if I had done Heatran on 3DS, I probably would have gotten it by now. But no, you guys were sick of the 3DS. You guys wanted something different. Oh, I didn't even need to Dynamax there. Damn it! Why y'all want me to do something different? I could have gotten this shiny by now had I done the 3DS! I blame all you guys. I am clearly not at fault here. Oh, I'll see you guys next time.